Welcome to Command AI, the podcast where we press Command F on today's internet news and somehow we still can't find our sanity. I'm Samuel Gregory and this is Kabaza, and we're here to decode the weekly chaos in AI web design and development. This week we have Cloudflare outage caused by vibe coding. Apple failed to mention AI less than it mentioned Siri in its 2025 WWDC presentation. Dia, the AI browser, launched. Is this the future? O3 price drop and Gemini dropped 2.5 Pro while Mistral launched a coding assistant. Unfortunate term for a deeply intellectual exercise, says Andrew NG. I don't know how you say that. Embarrassingly, Claudes shuts down its underperforming AI blog. So that's this week. So let's dive into it.
Starting with vibe coding and cloud. I don't know what happened to Cloudflare, but I just got a call like 20 minutes ago that my mom is not able to get like some medication.
Oh my God.
Because like the card reader, like the information is on the card and they can't read it. They go, and I don't know if it's like directly this issue, but I got the call and they just said it's an outage and it's an internet outage. They told me. And I don't know if it's directly connected or not, but she can't get medicine.
Here's all these services that went down. Pokemon is there screaming at me. Loads of services went down basically. And it was a Cloudflare issue. Cloudflare KV, I think KV is a storage, database storage. And we really suffered from it. It was caused by a developer who used Devin. And I don't know if this is a joke, but it seems really legitimate. Like he's getting sorries and he's saying whatever. I don't know whether he's doing this for attention. I don't know. I'm low key like thinking I've just embarrassed myself here. But basically, this kid was fired from Cloudflare. Last 3 months were amazing, but it turns out my Devin AI code caused this outage. So his vibe coding caused the outage, and 30 minutes later, his access has been revoked. Is this real? Or is this fake? Because I'm reading down and he's saying stuff like, love your work. Oh, no, he's responding to another comment.
Because of the mention of Devin, I don't believe it. Because there is Devin in it.
It was this comment that got me. And I was like, maybe this is true. I don't know. Twitter is still playing up for me right now. I mean, Twitter's going up and down all the time, to be fair. But regardless, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Let us know in the comments. Let's talk Apple.
Yeah, that's the news of the week, right? What everybody is talking about. Liquid glass.
Liquid glass. You called it.
Have you seen the liquid ass, though?
No.
So Apple introduced this liquid glass thing, and they put it on YouTube as well. And the thumbnail says liquid glass, but the GL in glass is exactly where the YouTube play button, the icon is. So you read it, liquid ass. And it's like such a perfect abstraction of like the GL that it's perfect. It really looks like liquid ass.
More on trend is they didn't really mention anything to do with AI. And they mentioned Siri twice in the whole thing. And that got picked up on very quickly. And I don't know what to make of it, because I've said this like 3 times this week. Probably this is the 4th time I'm saying it, is that Apple have always been great at abstracting the technology behind what's going on. And last year they were kind of forced by shareholders to like say something about AI, because they've had AI for ages. Granted, it's not been amazing, but simple things like how they process your photos is AI. Various things like that they sort of abstract it, and it sort of seemed like a return to form, where they just did not. There was a few AI things going on, but they didn't seem to mention it. Like, I think the only clear thing they mentioned that was AI was actually releasing their foundation model to developers, which is really cool, actually. I really like that. I don't think it's going to be the best model, but the fact that I'm more excited about, I think, Apple kind of know this, I'm more excited about the developers and what the developers are going to do with this access to a local model on your device, as well as private compute.
Why is Apple so behind?
Yeah.
I've seen a few people talking about this. It's probably because of Craig Federighi and a lot of other people at Apple not really believing in AI. Have you read about this? So the title is The Illusion of Thinking. And this paper essentially says that these models are not really thinking models. And with the increase of complexity, the model trying to like the answers that they give basically falls down and falls apart. Like they can't get complexity really well.
It does demonstrate a little bit of a reservation when it comes to AI. Who knows? Who really knows? But other things they announced, they introduced vibe coding into Xcode, which is really cool. The disappointing thing here for me is, and I won't labor on about this, is just how really they're sucking you into their ecosystem. Like they've done nothing to support developers who aren't building apps. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're not helping web developers. They're not supporting anyone that isn't there making their money, which is pretty sad to see. And then you've got Microsoft on the other hand, who are literally, and we'll get into it later, they've sort of open source is the only word that's coming to mind, the Copilot hotkey on their laptop, and they're trying to be the foundation for development. No matter what you're developing on, doesn't matter who you're developing for, we're there to support you, sort of thing. So I'm proud to say that we've got a supporter of the Command AI podcast. So we'll go to an ad break and then we'll get into Dia AI browser.
Support for this episode comes from Flowbase. If you are building in Webflow, Framer, or Figma, Flowbase can help you build much faster. With over 4,000 components to choose from, you have a huge variety of wireframes and super clean, nicely designed sections that you can put together by just simply copy-pasting them to your project.
Over 15,000 icons as well, over 1,000 illustrations.
They also have a super helpful Webflow app called Boosters. With Boosters, you can add things like sliders and marquees and count-ups to your project with a few clicks and without any coding. So yeah, big thanks to Flowbase for supporting the show. If you want to try them out, go head to flowbase.co.
And just for you guys, I want to show a discount. Command Flowbase, all capitals, for 20% off any plan. This is a limited offer, so get in there early.
All right, that's it. Let's continue with the show.
Let's talk about Dia.
Yeah.
So you have or you haven't downloaded this?
Arc is the first browser from the browser company, and they discontinued it. They said they are going to support it, but now they are not going to support it in favor of their new baby called Dia. And I did download it. I went through the setup. It was beautiful. Like
the introduction
that they make. Yeah, it's they have taste for it.
I struggle to see what an AI browser could do. What are we just ramming AI in all the things, which, you know, is surprise coming from my mouth, but like what could it possibly bring? And I'm seeing it. I'm seeing Josh's vision for this thing. So
here you can chat with the AI and ask about specifically what did the
go on. What did
David say about killing Arc?
I mean, you can chat with the video. I mean, the example I gave is I asked my own video if there's an advert in there, right? And presumably it can give you like timestamps and things like this. But this is like, you know, I don't think this is necessarily what's interesting about this browser. I think the real magic here is that you can cross-reference tabs, right? And the example I gave in my video is that I was on my own YouTube video and I asked if I had time tomorrow to watch this video. You know, so it looked at my calendar and said, you've got an available spot at 10:30 a.m. This would be the best time for you to watch it. And then I asked it to add it to my calendar. There's a feature coming that you can see on their what do you call it? Their promo video that they've got. It was auto browse, because I wanted it to add something to my calendar. I want to, add this video to my calendar. I want to watch it later on, and I can't do that yet. But I'm imagining the auto browse feature will become part of that you can actually prompt it to start doing things. And you can, again, this cross-referencing of tabs is a really powerful way to utilize, because all tabs are mostly siloed. What they can do is siloed, right?
Yeah.
Your it's like an iPad. Your one task, your one focus. Whereas if you start to think, well, I can work across tabs now. Could it be, okay, so I've just generated this bit of content or whatever in ChatGPT. Can you add this to my Twitter page? Can you also add it to my LinkedIn? Can you do this thing across all these browsers and that would be probably auto agent, because it needs to click buttons and stuff like that. But you can start to see how this ecosystem around multiple tabs can be very powerful, and like from a productivity standpoint, super powerful, right?
I'm doing this for the first time, and I'm actually like in love with it. It's so good. Like, man, it's beautiful. I'm gonna give it a try, even though I'm still bitter at them.
What should we chat about now?
O3 price drop is the next.
Yeah, a massive. So O3 was very expensive. Like, I wouldn't even entertain the idea of trying to. Actually, this is a tweet towards Cursor having it in, but it was crazy. Maybe O1 was obviously the most expensive, but it was expensive, and they've managed to give it an 8% price drop, which is very, very welcome. It's a really good model. It's not great for coding, or at least it's such a slow model. Like, people have been, I think a message saying, "Hi, I'm Sam Altman," took 3 minutes to reason with it. So wow. It's an incredibly smart model, but it's also incredibly slow. So you need to know what you're using it for. So 200,000 context. So it's not the smallest, but it's also not a million. So it's If you're using bring your own API key, so it's still pretty pricey. You're talking $2 by $8, but not as pricey as it once was. But they also introduced O3 Pro, which is kind of a replacement, and I mean, this is even more expensive. This is $20 with $80. $20 in, $80 out. So this is the new bad boy in town.
Yeah.
And I think the point to make here, because we've obviously got O4 Mini, right? So this just starts to get really confusing, and you've got 4.1 and all this sort of stuff. These are good for coding, I think. I mean, I'm on Claude Code at the moment, so whatever. But so O4 is kind of like the next generation, but they only release the kind of lower tier. It's kind of like the M series. Like, we've got the M4, we've got the M3 Ultra.
Yeah,
but we're on M4 now. We're on M4 Pro and M4 Max, so they've not yet released the M4 Ultra. So this is why we're getting a bit confused here. But it's a good model, It does what if you're doing. I think if you're doing research papers and things like that, you need to produce like some heavy duty research based, whatever. Then O3 is probably the way to go, but not. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for coding. However, I would recommend 2.5, Gemini 2.5 for coding, because this is just Claude 4 was released last week, and then this takes it again in the SWE benchmarks, 40% reduction in function calling error rates, which is pretty handy. 63.8 on the SWE bench verified coding benchmarks. And it's basically a score of 14,043.22, whereas Claude 4 Opus, which is pretty insane, scored a mere 1,411. So it's a battle for this top spot. Really is a battle for the top spots. But yeah, Gemini 2.5 Pro takes the lead. And it's only a month after they took the first lead. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. Similarly, Mistral, And there's another cool insider thing here about Windows that I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. So Mistral have launched a coding assistant, which is a private enterprise coding assistant, private beta for JetBrains and VS Code, basically, you know, whatever, Cursor, Windsurf, and stuff like that. So it was interesting because they released it the same day as Windows allowed you to customize the Windows key, the Copilot Windows key, which, again, if you've only just joined, like, Windows are there just supporting the developer ecosystem, and even, you know, that in some ways is locking you into their ecosystem. But now they've open sourced that, if you can call it that, or just, you know, allowed you to customize it. And you know, I'm guessing, we're not Windows users here, but guessing you touch Copilot and then it opens up, you know, Windows Copilot. But now you could probably just customize that to do whatever. It just becomes a hotkey. Don't know. But it's really interesting. And they've also released, maybe it's in this article or not, I'm not too sure, but they've also released their own coding models as well. Magistral, small and medium, and they've got their own two coding things, which is CodeStraw and DevStraw. So going back to OpenRouter, I wonder what the sort of prices are we're looking at these things. I have a feeling they're open source and very cheap, and they're doing really well. I think I saw someone using these things, and they're doing pretty friggin' well. Yeah, so 10 and 30 cents. These ones are a little bit more expensive. I'm just looking here, if you can read that. And then this one's a bit more. So pretty cheap models as well. So I actually want to give those a go. But regardless, Mistral entering the chat with regards to their pretty decent coding models.
The biggest European model this is, and this is an attempt also in Europe to basically not what's it called? Like, Europe has not been doing well.
Yeah,
that would be an understatement. Yeah.
Which we've got, like, legislations to battle against. You know, what was it?
That's one of the things that there is no infrastructure, and the legislations are also very different. Like the way you can get talent is very different. Like in the US, it's much easier for companies to bring talent in, you know, from India. They're like a huge, you know, it's also culturally different, so that there are a lot of geniuses there. So it's much easier for the US to get those.
Saying that, we haven't even noted it down, but it's juicy news. It's kind of not really web focused, but Zuckerberg, he's trying to pull together the dream team of web development off the back of Llama 4, just kind of not really hitting the mark, and like delays and things like that. He's willing to pull together a dream team. He's offering 9-figure salaries for those who come forward who are just, you know, the best of the best when it comes to AI. Okay. 9 figures. So what's like hundreds of millions? Oh, no, it's hundreds of millions.
Yeah,
you know?
8 figures would be 10 million to 99, and 9 would be 100 million to
a year.
Yeah, to 999 million. So it's almost a billion. That's insane.
What should we're coming up at time. What we've kind of we've got a few little things. This is why I was wondering whether we should bring it up. So this involves a bit of a topic, you know, but this idea that Andrew or NG, whatever, I'm not sure how you say it. Correct me in the comments. Vibe coding, an unfortunate term for a deep intellectual exercise. And I was looking into who this guy is. He basically heads Google Brain. That's the one, Google Brain.
Okay.
I do think vibe coding is it's not a deep intellectual exercise. That's not the point of vibe coding. I think he's got his semantics a bit confused here, in that vibe coding, by its very nature, is, as Andrei Karpathy said, he's phrased, and you forget that the code even exists, but not to the point of understanding the system, which is what I believe AI assisted coding is. I believe AI assisted coding is you're using AI to reason about code and get it to, it's in the name, assist you with what you want to do. And yeah, you're just using AI to do that. Whereas vibe coding in its nature is not thinking about the code, writing, for lack of a better word, a dumb prompt and getting what you want out of it. And it's very fun, and it's can be very rewarding. I know people who produce great products through vibe coding. So I think he's missed the mark on this, to be honest, Andrew. I think you missed the mark on this. I know what he's trying to say. He doesn't want to undermine that AI coding with AI is always this vibe, way of doing things.
Yeah.
But truthfully, leave vibe coding where it is. Let that gain its own reputation, but respect that there is this form of coding that requires a lot of deep intellectual thought and knowledge on how systems work. And we can use AI to help us do that. So that's my rant. That's my TED talk. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Last one, and then we'll wrap up, right? So basically, it's really embarrassing. Well, actually, I think it's the conversation on a much broader topic, which is Claude Anthropic tried this AI blog thing, and it basically did not live up to the hype of what they say, because Claude is actually used, and I'm starting to use it more for writing now. Claude is good for writing. Whether it's good for information gathering is another topic altogether, but it's good for maybe creative writing. And it just wasn't hitting the mark, basically. And I think this just brings into the conversation, which we've kind of mentioned a few times on this episode, is like the transparency of like what is AI and what is not AI. I think this, whilst the writing may not have been, the writing might have been good. I don't know. I didn't read anything. I think it treads carefully along this line of like, well, do I want to be reading stuff that's AI generated? Do I want to, how much can I trust this thing that's AI generated? Is it hallucinating? Is there bias involved in it? Because there is bias. And that's one thing a lot of these AI companies need to fight against. So I think it just brings into this discussion around transparency. And you weren't here last week, but we spoke about a new Synth ID, I think it's called, that Google have developed. And it's a way of identifying when video is AI generated, but it's a lock and key system. So you need to apply it. It needs to be applied to a video to then be able to say this is AI generated or whatever. But, I think all you can do is mention something's AI generated, and then the systems then have to like integrate that or whatever. But it's an interesting debate that kind of came off of this pretty embarrassing shutting down of a blog that they tried, but win some, lose some. So that's the news.
With that, it's time to go out and touch some grass.
It's so nice outside, so I'm going to go for a drink with a friend now, so I'm very much looking forward to that. But yeah. Cheers everyone for tuning into this week's Command AI. Always welcome feedback if you've got anything for us. I hope you enjoyed the news, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. With all that, go out, touch some grass, and peace out.
Keep on vibing.